evening. They think love needs an object of love, a man, woman, or a thing. In their love, there are always two, a lover and a beloved. They do not know what love is present, only when there is no two, and that is only possible when there is no one. When the lover has gone back, when she comes. A very pleasant evening to Chandigarh Literary Society's conversations and the very first cross-border talk with an extremely illustrious guest whose book is what we are going to talk about, came out in 2017 by Penguin India. And till date, it remains a hugely popular bestseller. मेरा बहुत ही मन था, and it was sort of a bucket list to have a conversation, and Allah Miyan ne उसे पूरा किया है. We are joined today from Lahore, ladies and gentlemen, with Faiqa Mansab, the author of This House of Clay and Water. She is a Chevening scholar who's done her MPhil from Lahore in comparative literature, recently has done an MA in gender and cultural studies from Birkbeck University, London. She also is a degree holder in fine arts from Kingston University. And ये जो किताब है, This House of Clay and Water, महज किताब नहीं है. This transcends time and a lot many other categories. So today is going to be an extremely special रूबरू with Faiqa Mansab. आदाब, कैसी हैं आप?
Thank you so much, Suparna, for having me and for this wonderful welcome. I'm overwhelmed actually with your love and so excited to be here and talk to you about and Sufism. So I'm looking forward to this chat.
बहुत खूब. तो सबसे पहले मैं आपसे गुजारिश करूंगी कि आप just summarize for the benefit of those who've joined us this evening and are not familiar with the narrative of this marvelous classic. What is it about? Just a very brief summary so that the context is placed, and then I shall take it forward.
That is so hard to do. I won't summarize it. I'll just tell you what it is about for me. For me, it's a story about people on the periphery of society, of life, and it's about love. It is also about spirituality and how connections are made without planning to or meaning to, and how important those connections can be as compared to others which are contracts and are supposedly more important, but they turn out to be nothing. So this story is very close to my heart, probably because it's my first one that got published, and also because I think with this story I found my niche as a writer, and I realized that these are the kinds of stories that I want to write and I want to share, and that's what the story is about for me.
Right. I began with few lines for the evening's talk, and that was essentially encapsulating the essence of what I've understood. The work is embroiled or enveloped in esoteric sheets. Bhangi, Nida, and Sasha, your three pivotal characters, are elements which are cosmic in nature. And whatever happens in their personal life is something that perhaps you and I experience on a daily basis in one form or the other. So do share with us that the dedication of this book begins with your Ruhani tabiyat, as in an inheritance from your maternal, paternal lineage. उसके बारे में थोड़ा जिक्र कीजिए ताकि ये टोन जो किताब की है वो आपकी ज़ाती जिंदगी और ज़हनी रूहानियत से कैसे जुड़ी हुई है.
Right. So the dedication is to my maternal grandmother, my Nani. We used to call her Ammiji, and she was my lives when we were growing up. So I'm one of the youngest grandchildren. So there was just my youngest sister after me. And I had a special bond with Ammiji. So what I remember of her is, she used to wear these crisp white shalwars, printed shirts, and chiffon dupattas, or very fine muslin dupattas with lace, and that's it. She'd be just sitting there every single day. She'd start her morning reading the Quran, and then she would take a break and have chai with my mother and her sisters, my khalas. They'd come over, and so she had a very simple life. And at night she'd call me. And again, this is like, I was 11 when she passed away. So I remember all these things very clearly. So at night she'd call me and she'd say, okay, I'm going to give you a gift. So, initially I was like, okay, I'm getting sweets or something. And then she said, this gift, this will be with you for the rest of your life. So, and that gift turned out to be when an ayah that she would teach me every day. So she would teach me ayah from a surah, and
जी.
for 3 days I would have to come and repeat it to her till I had it, memorized. And those were the gifts that I got from her every day. So, I got used to it, and then I wouldn't run as fast next time she called me. But now when I look back, I realized that she was right. That the gift that she gave me was this, it's this thoughtfulness. She would call me and ask me questions like, so where do you think stars come from? And then she would read me some ayah and tell me how that what God says about them. I think those were things that taught me a lot.
जी. We seem to have some technical issues because Faiqa's video is not operational. These are unforeseen challenges of a virtual interaction, so do bear with us. Can you hear me, Faiqa? No, we seem to be experiencing some technical glitch. Meanwhile, let me just take a page and read a few lines from the book, because my next question to the author is related to her style and why this book becomes such a popular. जी, आपके साथ थोड़ा technical glitch हुआ था, so you may want to recap for the benefit of our viewership. We lost out on about a minute and a half or more. So you were last, what we got to hear was that your grandmother sharing and you coming back with those surahs and sort of realizing what was the essence of that evening's
Yes.
regimen. जी जी तो उसका किताब में ट्रांसलेशन कैसे होता है? I mean, how as a creative process, how was it that you developed it into this very strong um, undercurrent? Sorry.
No problem.
जी
I think it's just like you were saying, how did you become this person who can write this book? So
जी
basically, that's what I was telling you, that um, I think I was a thoughtful child, thanks to the environment, that I had. I mean, my grandmother was very serious. My father and my mother, had a lot of books for us, because that's what we were supposed to do rather than go out and play. So in a household of girls, it was books. You know, that was our entertainment.
जी
So I read a lot, and so I don't know. I mean, I don't think it was a conscious decision, but I've always been, and I used to love the stories that my grandmother told about her grandfather, who was a very spiritual man and who was known to be, the spiritual figure in their locality when she was growing up. And people would come to him for du'as, and people would come to him for guidance and wisdom. And he was known as a wali, which is, an Urdu word for Sufi saint. So he
that's
was a
right.
wali. So, I loved those stories. And for me, it was something real. To me, God was real, and these stories were real. So,
Right.
and I've always been very conscious of this, that, I am accountable for what I do. If
Mhm.
I do something bad, I'm accountable for that. So,
जी
when your thought process as a child is like that, then
correct.
it stays with you.
Right.
At least it
Uh,
stayed with me.
correct. The this I also understand from your biography, biodata, that this was your main thesis, and it got
Yes.
the book is an extraction from your thesis work. And at this point, I would like you to share with our viewers a very special एसोसिएशन इनफैक्ट एक खास राबता जो एक ऐसी शख्सियत के साथ जिनका पूरी दुनिया में नाम सिनोनिमस है with eclectic thought, सूफियाना तबीयत, unconditional love. I'm talking of none other than Elif Shafaq, the famed
Yes.
best-selling author and bastard of Istanbul, 40 Rules of Love, and so on and so forth. उनके साथ आप कैसे जुड़ी, इस काम को लेकर उनका क्या रोल रहा आपके जर्नी में, and something which is a constant reminder that this is very, very special to me.
So I applied for the MFA in creative writing when, in 2011. I lost my mother in 2010. And so I was going through a very tough time. So I applied for the MFA, and
जी
I wasn't clear whether I was still.
no no well
So,
done
so I just applied to two universities, and
जी
one of them was Kingston, because Elif Shafaq was there.
Mhm.
And I remember when I applied to Kingston University, and I thought, you know, what if I get her as my supervisor? Wouldn't that be great? Let me try. I mean, what if? At that point, it was a dream that I was sort of living. I was going to live my dream. I wanted to do the MFA for the longest time.
जी
And, I come from a traditional family, and it was like, you have to get married and everything, but you can still do whatever you want in life if you get the support. And thankfully, my husband has been very supportive, and he's actually very, very supportive. And so, he's never been in my way in any shape or form. And so he um, encouraged me. And so at that point, I was just thinking, this is what I need to do. I need to get an MFA. I need to get away from here. I need to heal. And healing is synonymous with writing and reading for me. And I just wanted to get away and do that, just put my mind to my work. So I got in. I got the confirmation from Kingston, and I was like, this is destiny. I have to go. So I didn't even wait for the other university, and I said yes to Kingston, and I started my whole visa and everything process. So when I went there, I found out that LF doesn't teach a module or anything. So LF is just there as one of those special sort of writers who just supervise dissertations. So I was like, okay, how am I going to get her? So I started talking to my teachers and all, and they said, we can ask her, but if she likes your work, then she'll accept it. And it's not 100% that she'll accept you. And I said, what do they know? I'm here on a mission, they, of course she's going to accept me. And she did. She did. She accepted my... so I had sent an excerpt of This House of Clay and Water. And my thesis is also an excerpt of this book rather than the other way around. So we had to submit about 50,000 words. And so I had written the whole book by then. So I sort of sent the first 50,000 words. So while we were working, we met, I think the designated meetings were 4. We were supposed to meet 4 times. And the first meeting happened in Mayfair. I think that's where she lives, or she was close by or something. And she said that, come to so-and-so cafe. And I went there. And it was so surreal, just sitting there. Obviously, I was before time and I was waiting for it. And I thought, okay. And I took I love Black Milk. It's one of my favorite books by Elif. It's absolutely stunning. And of course, 40 Rules of Love is also exquisite. So I had just finished Black Milk, so I took that. I said, I want you to sign this. So I was sitting there with my book and waiting for her. And, you wouldn't believe she's just as beautiful in real life. And she's just as, actually, she never admits it because she is, I think, quite inclined towards Sufism. She doesn't say that she's a Sufi, but the way that she spoke and how wonderful she was, I really think that is what the Sufi spirit actually is. So the funny thing was that, so we had an hour-long meeting. And she was just telling me that, okay, this is what I think, and this is what... And I'm taking notes. And at the time, I was just, so happy to be with her, having coffee and everything. So when I went home, I looked at my notes and I thought, there's no critique, really. I mean, she's just saying, this is really nice, this character. This could be a little, And I emailed her. I said, it's not possible that you liked everything. So where's the critique? And they said, take another look. I think you'll find it there. And when I did, I saw that basically she was so polite. She didn't say that character is, that you need to work on that character. She would say, I felt that character perhaps doesn't have enough of a voice. And so I didn't realize that what she... Yes. So, and me being a Punjabi, we're like, that is wrong. You don't say that. So for me, that was something very, different. Um, so that was surprising. And then I had to, prick my ears and listen very carefully that this what she's saying is the critique. So she's not
Right.
going to say anything nasty. She's just going to tell you what she thinks, and you have to find what
Correct.
the critique is. So that was really wonderful. And we met 3 times before I came back for my dissertation writing, and not once did she let me pay for my coffee. Not
Wow.
once. I really wanted to say that I treated Elif Shafaq, but no, she said, no, that's not going to happen. And you're the student, you are not going to pay. And, these are things that stay with you.
जी,
Sorry?
फकीरियत तबीयत वाले लोगों की अक्सर ये झलक होती है कि वो अपनी रोशनी से ही their presence is the affable disposition is contagious, and the genuineness is so effusive that it rubs off. You're so consumed with that natural instinct to be warm, affectionate.
Yes.
आप बेहतर समझती हैं जो जो प्यार मोहब्बत एक अनजान से इत्तेफाक से मिले, कहने को इत्तेफाक, there aren't any, but वो that sets a different current in your life. So fantastic. And how I'm sure till now you remain in close connect with her, and anything in particular regarding the title of this book that she had to comment on, or you asked her, because it is unusual.
Actually, the working title for this book was Kalandar, and she was very happy with that title because in Turkish also the word Kalandar exists, and she, a lot of things are very familiar to her. And she would say about the Saman, she said it was really beautiful. I loved this description, and so it was all very familiar to her. I think it was just that it was in a different setting because it was Pakistan, so that setting was different, but it was familiar. So she didn't actually say anything about the title. It was my other tutor, who's also a writer and a poet, Paul Perry, Dr. Paul Perry. He said that he was actually thinking from Western sort of market selling point, that this is not a word that will be familiar to most Western people, and so have a title that is in English, so that people can at once when they read the title, then they can at least have an idea of what the book is about. So then it was quite simple. I didn't have to think a lot about it. There was a couple of phrases from Greek plays that I love. I love Greek tragedy. And then there was this from Rumi's couplet. This is the line from Rumi's couplet, Divane Shams Tabrizi. So I think it was no contest. It just fit so well that I knew at once that this is the title. Yeah.
Lovely. My third question stems from this little extract that I'm very tempted to share with our viewers, because this will indicate why I'm asking about a particular issue. So, with your permission, making a carnival out of nothing, the defining quality of the vibrant-hearted Lahoris translated into eating cholesterol-laden food in a perpetual state of carpe diem, and eventually killing themselves 10 years sooner than their natural lifespan, which wasn't that long in any case. So Lahore is a character in this fantastic story. And your love for Lahore, उसके बारे में कुछ बताइए.
So, this is one of the earliest things I wrote. This was even before I went to Kingston. So all these parts about Lahore, these were written long before I went to Kingston. because like I said, I've always wanted to be a writer, and being a writer means that you write. So when there was no publishing deal and sign, I would still be writing whatever I could think of, whatever sort of just and Lahore has been my canvas for the longest time, and um, I don't know. I have a love-hate relationship with Lahore. I mean, there are things that I uh, don't like about Lahore, but that's because all of my family is here, so it's like a cage for us. So we just feel that this is our cage. Lahore is, wherever you go, you'll see family, you'll see the, and where it's a big deal. I mean, all the festivals and everything, everybody's together and it's wonderful. But it's also that there's no privacy.
Right.
In Lahore, you don't have privacy. And I don't think that's just because of family. I think most people will agree with me who live in Lahore that it's everybody knows everything about everyone else. So these are things that I don't think they're true of every city.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know if you have a city like that in India where you just feel so exposed.
True.
So Lahore is like that. And I love the history of Lahore. I love that it has seen so much, and here
Yeah.
it stands.
Right.
It's and sometimes I want to hear the stories that these walls could tell us. Just listen
Absolutely.
to them and hear them. So I do have a strong relationship with Lahore, and I'm fascinated by the city and its history and its art and the culture, which is the Lahori culture. You'll see is so highbrow and so
Hmm.
lowbrow, and it
Yes.
exists together. And there are times when they meet, and
Hmm.
then there are times when they fuse and they become one. And um, Coke Studio is one of those I think examples, although it's not
Yes.
based in Lahore, but the Lahori music is a big part of Coke Studio.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, so I love these things about Lahore.
Wonderful. In fact, uh, Lahore and Chandigarh have, you're familiar with the genesis of the Connect. Chandigarh's conception, the idea, and the narrative behind it, the partition storyline, and so on. So I do understand your sharing that how an urban idea can have a historical genesis when you have a sense of belonging to that space in myriad ways. When it's just
Yeah.
not either a birthplace or a settlement, but it's much more than that, then it doesn't become just a domicile or a city. So wonderful. चलिए बात करते हैं कुछ लैंग्वेज की. The syntax and style used by you in this house of clay and water is different, is extraordinary, is literary, yet very stark, and in some places, for many people around the world, can be bordering on controversial content because of the dynamics of identity and culture in Islamic countries. You are stoking areas and spaces which are less visited, and particularly when you placate it against gender. औरतों का इस्लाम और औरतों का सूफियाना realm में participation are two separate discourses, but this particular narrative transcends that. Share something about it.
Okay, so the thing is, like I told you, with my grandmother's history, that I was always interested in. I'm interested in history. I'm interested in Islamic history, and then because wherever there is story, I'm there. I just want to read whatever there is to read. So when I did my MPhil from government college, I wanted to do a comparative study of Justine Garder, who
The
has
novel.
written Sophie's World and The Solitaire Mystery, Maya. I love those novels because I saw a lot of Sufi themes there. So I
Right.
wanted to do a comparative study of his work with Sufi storytelling themes.
Correct.
Now, nobody wanted to take that on. They said there's nothing, and I was, I think, 26 or 27 at the time. And I was just determined because I could see it so clearly, and I needed to write that. I needed to write that thesis, and so with it took me a while to get my supervisor, Dr. Nausheen, who was at the time at GCU. There wasn't much help because nothing had been written at all about that. So even before that, I had been researching Sufism. So the reason I wanted to write that thesis is because I knew about Sufi themes, and I wanted to write about those things. And while I was doing that, I read a book on Rabia Basri by a
Mhm.
French writer, French female. I'm forgetting the name, but it's on Rabia Basri. And Rabia was a Kalandar. She
Ji.
was in Baghdad and around that area where, I mean, for Basra, definitely because he's known as Arabia Basri, but I think it's that area. And Hassan of Basra was also there. They were contemporaries. And
Ji.
so, so for me, coming from the family that I came from, like my grandmother was very spiritual, so was my mother, but not as much as my grandmother. And having Rabia and Hazrat Fatima and Hazrat Zainab. So for me, uh, women not having space in Islam was like it didn't exist in my head that women don't have space in Islam. Because for me, they did very, very clearly. They did. And
Mhm.
the one thing that I still, worry about and talk about is that why don't we have female scholars for
Ji.
ijtihad and for working on those issues?
Right.
That is still a concern. I don't know why that doesn't happen because there are plenty of female scholars. But I think that's a narrative of power that we are speaking against, and
Mm-hmm.
the narrative of power is usually male.
Mm-hmm.
So that where religion comes in, it's usually in the hands of men because they feel that religion is one of the things with which to control women,
Ji.
and we see that often enough.
Right.
Um, but for me personally, I don't feel like when I read the Quran, I don't feel that I need someone else to tell me what it means.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm reading it, it's God speaking to me. So my understanding is important. And that is what God meant actually. I mean, uh, the stories that we hear from earlier scriptures is also the same, that a few
Yeah.
men took the scriptures and they said, we'll tell you what it means. That
Yeah.
never was an issue as far as I'm concerned. I don't want someone else to tell me what these things mean.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So I read different versions of the translations so that I get the maximum out of it. And I still do. I mean, I read a new translation every year so that I understand it more and more. As I grow older, I understand it more. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean, with every book, you feel that. But imagine this with the Quran. I mean, that's like huge, huge differences. So I hope I haven't gone too far away from the question.
No,
And uh,
no, no. This is
yeah.
absolutely fine. In fact, related to this, that has, I mean, 2017 से लेकर अब तक, the fact that this book still holds so much of uh, contextual relevance and people are still interested in talking, reading about it. In your experience as somebody based in Pakistan, um, and having had the Western exposure in terms of being in Australia or in United Kingdom for a substantial period of time, your interaction, has it ever come in terms of insecure women who feel threatened with these kind of sharings? Do you get to hear from relations and older aunts who say, फायदा ये भी कोई बात है लिखने की भाई, तुम क्यों, और अगर लिख रही हो तो फिर इतनी जद्दोजहद के बारे में क्यों लिखती हो, सवाल मुश्किल मत पूछा करो, you know? Do you get to hear that, or is it more of, oh yes, my goodness, thank God somebody said it the way it ought to be said?
So, with family, it's always different. Families have this image of you, and that image is true. And what you actually become or who you actually are makes them uncomfortable, because they are so familiar with that image of you that they've created in their heads, or the older generation did, or whatever. So that image is what they are comfortable with. Right. And who you actually are is a threat. So yes, that happens, but I think one of the things that a lot of people relate with is the masks I talk about, the masks women wear. So I also wear many masks, and I'm not who I am with everyone. I can't be. That is why I love writing, because that is when I am me. And nobody can take that away from me. I don't have to adjust myself in any way. I don't have to hide. I don't have to, be polite with anyone. So that is why I'm a writer, because I had to hide. I can't be myself in this society or in this world, because people will not understand that, or people will not. I mean, so many times the things that people don't think about, like one of the things that I really worry about when I'm talking is that you don't hurt the other person.
Yes.
If that's something that is I'm very conscious of that. That doesn't mean that I don't hurt people. I'm sure I do, but not intentionally.
Correct.
And so many times you hear things that I can tell that this is not something that should be said. It's hurtful. But you can't say that to people, right? So you have to separate yourself from there are degrees of separation. And then you are making yourself smaller, you're making yourself polite or gentle, so all of those things make you someone who you're not. You're not actually that person that you are at that moment in time. And that's how life has been. So writing is where I am who I am.
So this transactional quotient determines our interactions, our how shall I say, daily beliefs, or the ease with which one lives one's life. Nothing is sacrosanct, but yet one part of you is, and that can only be exhibited to one's own self with that private sheath of यहाँ मैं महफूज हूँ. तो आप कहती हैं आपकी कलम और आपके लेख ही वो एक दायरा है जहां वो आपको ऐसा महसूस करवाता है. Okay. I'm curious to know 2017 and 2021 के बीच में इस किताब का सक्सेस इम्पेडिमेंट भी रहा है, प्रोपेल भी किया है, दूसरी किताब के बारे में काम हो रहा है, सोचा नहीं है, उसके बारे में जिक्र कीजिए.
Something very sad happened while, I mean, I think in 2019 there was a trade ban from Pakistan on Indian goods. So a lot of us who had just got our voices heard
Right.
were then muzzled because we couldn't get our own books into Pakistan. And for the longest time, I mean, people still say to me, when are we going to get the book? Is the book coming? And I don't know if this book will ever come, into Pakistan. So that has been a huge impediment. The book itself has not, but the fact that it was not available to many readers in Pakistan um, has been, a
दुखती
huge
रहता है.
setback. Yes,
जी.
because they heard about it or they wanted to read it. There was a lot of students who were doing thesis,
जी.
MPhil thesis on this novel, and they couldn't find the book. So that's been really sad for a lot of us Pakistani writers, and especially me, because it has just come out and they couldn't get it. I have finished my second novel, and I have an agent in the UK, and I'm very excited about that novel, and I really hope that we hear some good news soon, inshallah. Um, I'll just tell you that it is about um, the themes that we were just discussing a few moments ago about Sufi storytelling. And it's something that has stayed with me for the longest time. I told you I've been researching it for years. So it's something very important to me.
We
Can you hear me? So I can see myself. I think I'm still alive. So anyway, I haven't heard back from my agent yet, but I hope to soon, inshallah. I'm excited about it. Suparna. So my agent is Enid Crossland in the UK, and I just signed with her this year. So for my first book, This House of Clay and Water, Meeta Kapoor was my agent. She was absolutely wonderful, and she's still working to get this book out into other markets, into foreign markets. So that's also very exciting. Actually, it just came out in Turkish this year, thanks to Meeta's constant support. So this book is now available in Turkish. So I was just continuing talking because I could see myself. I thought I'm online.
That's the right way. I'm also curious to know कि there is some talk of this being adapted onto a screen expression.
Yes.
उसके बारे में बताइए जरा, क्या ये is it a web series or?
I'm not sure yet, but the director who bought the rights from me is Shehrzad Sheikh, and she's really talented. She's wonderful, and she's got some huge hits under her belt. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what she comes up with. But I haven't heard anything yet. I mean, it's a controversial subject matter in any case. So I don't think it'll be easy for her to find to find someone to produce it and to invest in it. So I think it's fair to give her some time, because it's a difficult subject matter. But I hope that my best wishes to her and her team, and I hope that they find something soon. I'd love to see it on screen. Can you write a question for me so that I know where we're going? So I don't have the book with me, or I could have read something. But let me see if I have it here. Sorry about that. Anyway, I don't have the book, or I could have read something, but we could. I hope this will be edited. I don't know. Anyway, while I was at Kingston, I also met with Hanif Qureshi, who is also a UK-based Pakistani writer, and we had a long chat. I mean, I love his essays. He's also a wonderful writer. I'm reading Luster these days, which I'm loving. I think it's beautifully written, and every sentence is amazing. Oh, you're back, Suparna. I'm so
Yes.
sorry, I didn't know what to say.
Oh, this is perfectly fine. At least our viewers are getting the best of you, and that is what is required. So please finish that, and the last question would come before I would request you to read something that you enjoy most from this house of Play and Water. आप पहले खत्म कीजिए जो आप जिक्र कर रही थी.
No, I was just talking about the books that I'm reading these days, and just trying to catch a few things to say out of my.
Which particular author in gender and identity and cultural histories are you most sort of influenced, or you think that stimulates your creative thinking?
Okay, so the thing is that there are so many, but some writers have been like, they changed the way the dialogue happens, like bell hooks, like Judith Butler, like Judith Haberman. I mean, these people change the way we talk about gender and the way that, we look at these issues which were not talked about are now in the limelight. So these are, I think, three pivotal writers for me. But there are so many writers.
I'm curious. ये festivals are a phenomenon where you get to interact with a great many kinds of storytellers. आपका कोई राब्ता खास हुआ है पिछले कुछ सालों में, obviously before 2020, when we were still living in a more free environment and not sort of cordoned off, उसके बारे में बताइए.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the first half of your question.
The literature festivals seem to be the new circuses. or the
Yes.
globe over. So some experience of yours which you think you'd like to share with our viewers.
Um, well, I don't know. I mean, so I've had a sort of bittersweet, you can say, entry into this world, because I was naively thinking of this as the my tribe, where everybody will be, people who love books are just, big-hearted,
Yes.
great people. It didn't turn out to be like that,
So,
but I
and
found
I'm
some lovely friends. Yes, I
right.
mean, writers can be actually very sensitive, and they can be very prickly. So,
Mm,
but I found some great friends like Shandana Minhas, Naima Rashid, Sonia Kamal, Awais Khan.
ji,
These are just Sidra F. Sheikh. So these are writers that, and there is one of my best friends is an Indian writer, and Falguni Kothari. She lives in the US, and these are people that I go to advice for, and they read my
right.
and I would never show my manuscript to anyone, but both of them, I because I trust them as writers, because I think they're wonderful writers, and
Ji,
they have they're not going to share it with anyone. They're
correct.
both of them are just wonderful. Yeah.
Um, I could go on and on, but we have the time factor to be mindful of. So, what do I say? मेरे लिए this has been such a win-win. I am so happy. तहे दिल से आपका शुक्रिया. बहुत खुशी
Thank
हुई.
you.
Uh, absolute privilege on behalf of Chandigarh Literary Society to have presented the first interaction. And I hope this is just the beginning of many more to come. Remember us and do connect with us when you have
Inshallah.
your next work. Yes, and as they say, that we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. And thank you so much for reiterating it
Thank you.
in this beautiful, marvelous classic. Faiqa Mansab, खुश रहिए, आबाद रहिए और हमें याद करते रहिए.
Thank
शुक्रिया. खुदा हाफिज. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.